Hey guys, Booligan here with Booligan Shooting Sports, and today we're showing off just another fun body kit for these inexpensive 22 long rifle single action revolvers. This particular kit is for the Ruger Wrangler. It is not for the Heritage Rough Rider. However, I have a very similar design already out there for the Heritage Rough Rider, so this is something new. Again, this is for the Ruger Wrangler, and if you guys remember, sometime either earlier this year, later towards the end of last year, I designed a couple of kits for the Ruger Wranglers, including this one, which I've had I think on my wall for a while, but it's sort of designed after the revolver used in the movie Triple X. There's one that's a lot closer to it with some more of the cosmetic features from it. That one was just a little more aggressive than I like. So this is one that I actually used for a while. It's got a Seymour red dot sight on it. Fun. Knocking that stuff over. Fun kit. But I wanted to go a little bit crazier with it, to put it bluntly. I wanted to go a little bit more sci-fi. I wanted to just do something very, very different and a little bit more aggressive. And that's where we have this kit right here. You'll notice that this kit is substantially longer. Fair bit longer. The muzzle on this one went up to here. The muzzle on this goes up to about here. So that's a lot of kit there that's exposed to the muzzle blast of this, and that's why it's in testing. However, as we'll get to in a second, I believe I made some changes to mitigate any potential damage to it. This isn't really inspired from anything in particular. It's not taken directly from a game or a gun or a movie or anything like that. It is visually inspired a little bit by some pixel art that somebody made online that I saw, and I had a couple of elements that I really did like, and I was like, okay, cool, like that's kind of a fun concept to look at. Let's take a couple of those features, but let's build something completely from scratch, and that's where we have this. It's just sort of designed to be a little sci-fi-ish. It looks like it's something from Destiny. I've had a couple people say that it looks like something from Destiny. I don't play Destiny, sorry guys, so I'm not much use there with saying whether it is or is not from Destiny. But how these work and how these install, this particular one, it prints in one piece. It prints nose down on the bed. There's a little bit of bridging and support work up front. This is a prototype print. It was done quickly, which is why it's not the prettiest up front. And it's just a pretty easy print. It does have some supports. The supports are a little bit of a pain to get out because the supports, you can see the channel right here would have supports. Each of these little holes has supports. There's a support running all the way down the middle. So support cleanup is a little bit of a pain on this one. And that's something that I'll be working on, with the release version to hopefully tweak the geometry of this to make it a little bit easier to print. And it just has some cool cosmetic features to it. Now, it also has some functional features to it. You'll notice I like mounting optics on my pistols, but I don't necessarily like adding just a rail to it. I think that can be bulky, which is kind of a weird complaint considering this whole thing's very bulky. But I wanted to add a T1 footprint mount directly to this so that you could optionally, it's not required, but you could optionally mount a T1 style scope on this, or red dot sight on this kit. In this case, a SIG Romeo 5, and it works fantastically. It direct mounts through. You'll notice there's these two holes here, and then there's two screws that you access there. So it mounts with 4 screws with the kit off of the gun, and then you just slide the kit onto the gun, and you're good to go. One thing that I did need to do, as I mentioned, was muzzle blast mitigation. Now, keep in mind, this is a 22 long rifle revolver. It's not a ton of muzzle blast here, but there is still some, and it needs to go somewhere. When you're dealing with a PLA Plus printed part like this, heat management is important. That's also why there's this little bridge here. One, it looks cool, and 2, that adds a little bit of airspace to let heat from the barrel kind of dissipate out instead of staying concentrated in the kit, the printed kit itself. But for the muzzle blast, I added a bunch of avenues of exit for it. First, you'll notice these 2 long lines. They go back to within, call it ½ inch of the muzzle. So that initial muzzle blast can start coming out these ports at the top and possibly give you a little bit of a compensator effect. Haven't taken this to the range and beat it up too much yet, But that's the fun part. That's the testing part. So a little bit of the gas vents out there, and then as it moves forward, you have sort of a chamber here in the front with 2 muzzle brake exits, if you will, and kind of a cool feature, it's a square, or it's a rectangular, but it's rounded, but a rectangular muzzle. You don't see rectangular muzzles on guns too much, and I just think that was a fun look. I think it gives something really, really unique to this, and I think it's cool. This area underneath is open. However, it's open with like a cylindrical hole in the middle, and I designed it to fit like a lucite rod or like a plexiglass rod. I don't recall the size. I'll have to check my design. But eventually, like, I know people will tinker with this and will mod it, that you could possibly even add like a battery pack and have like an illuminated LED strip in there or something. But I wanted to at least have it. And if nothing else, it looks really cool with it open there. And again, it reduces the weight, it reduces the materials used during the print, and so on and so forth. So this is just kind of a fun design. Again, this was like the first prototype print. We still need to get it out, beat it up, and see how it does, see how it actually handles firing forces. But I've done printed muzzle devices and things like that, and they work fine with 22. 22 revolvers especially don't have very much muzzle blast at all. And it works fine. So, but we'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. This is currently in beta on Booligan Shooting Sports. So if you've got a Ruger Wrangler and you want to try building it, subscribe over there and get, access to start building it. You still have all of the normal functionality of the gun. You can still eject your rounds like normal. You still load them like normal. It still basically works like normal. It's just looks different, kind of fun, and has a little bit of increased functionality thanks to that red dot sight up front. Again, if you want to print this, it's currently in beta. When we're done with beta, it'll be publicly released and you'll be able to print it on your own. So, of course, as always, thanks for watching.